once again, welcome everyone to the BYP Speaker Circle, the May edition. And this month, we have a very interesting topic, and we have an amazing speaker joining us this evening or this morning, wherever you're joining from, to shed more light on this. And this topic is one that we've heard, received questions from our community members asking us to speak on it. Just the same way we got questions from our community members on asking us on how to move forward with their career goals, with their personal goals. We had people that have made those career goals, those personal goals, and currently they are in the state of regret. So now this webinar is here to address those that have made those decisions and are currently regretting them. So now the question is, what do you do? What do we do? Remain in regret, move forward, take back, go back to the actions you made, or just remain stuck. So that is summary of what this webinar is about. Overcoming career regret and avoiding the pitfalls. And as I mentioned earlier, we have an amazing speaker. We have Mr. Samuel Leigh. He'll be joining us this evening to shed more light on this topic. Before we move forward, let's just do a quick overview of what BYP is about, our vision, our mission, and we'll look at the bio of our amazing speaker. So now, what is BYP? BYP Network, Black Young Professionals Network, was founded in 2016 by Kike Oniwinde Agoro, and the sole purpose was to connect Black professionals and students globally, to ensure that Black professionals and students gain visibility, career opportunities, and business support. Now, not just within the UK, but outside the UK. This is the reason why BYP has chapters in London, in Leeds. BYP also has chapters in Lagos, Nigeria. BYP has chapter in Channel Islands in the US, just to spread our tentacles and to help us achieve that vision of connecting Black professionals with recruiters and providing visibility to Black professionals. And this is the summary, our vision to change the Black narrative. So now, if you are a Black professional in the UK, outside the UK, and you're looking for a community of like-minded professionals, you're looking for a community of intellectuals, and you want to be a part of them, you can scan the QR code we have on the screen, or you can visit the BYP Network website to connect and be a part of any of our numerous websites. Just to add, we also have BYP Fashion, we also have BYP Arts chapter. So it's not just fixed on location, it's also fixed on interest group. So if you are a lover of arts, you have interest in arts, you can also join the BYP Arts chapter. And this is about our founder, Kike Oniwinde Agoro, the founder of BYP Network. She was motivated to change the Black narrative, and this is why we have BYP from 2016 to date. She holds a BSc in Economics from the University of Nottingham, and she is the Vice Chair of the London Chamber of Commerce, Black Business Association, and other numerous bodies that she supports, all in a bid to push the Black narrative within and across the UK. So now the question on everybody's mind and on my mind is, I registered to attend this webinar. I saw the topic, it was interesting, overcoming career pitfalls and how to overcoming career regrets and avoiding the pitfalls. So this is the reason why you and I registered to attend this webinar. So why are we here? Maybe in past months or in past years, we've made one or maybe many decisions, not just in career, but maybe in business or personal lives. And at the moment, we're regretting them. So now the question is, what do you do? What do I do? Now, are you navigating career regret? Do you feel alone? Now, the answer is this. We have a number of persons on this webinar. This should let you know that you're not alone. So because we have this number of persons on this webinar, you should know that you are not the only one that has made career regret and career decisions that are wrong, and you should not feel alone. So now the next action to take is, how do you move forward? So whether you're just starting out in your career journey, so if you're done with your university education, or you're in the 1 to 5 year career level, or if you're a senior level professional, you should know that even if you've made those career decisions that are wrong, there's still a way for you to correct it. And for those that have not made those decisions yet, it is best for you to know what those pitfalls are so you do not make them. Like the popular saying, it is best not to learn from our own mistakes, but to learn from the mistakes of others. So if you've not made those mistakes yet, this webinar is for you to learn from the mistake of others so you don't make those mistakes. So now what do we expect as we have Samuel, and I believe later on we'll have Dr. Maame join us, is we want to gain practical tools to reframe regret. We want to navigate our next step. We expect honest insight and strategies for us to avoid the common career mistakes, and to get actionable advice for building a future that would align with our values. So whether you're pivoting, whether you're progressing, or maybe you're just reassessing, you would leave this webinar renewed, confident, and with clear direction. So now let's meet our amazing speaker. We have Samuel Leigh, who is the managing director. He's a managing director, financial coach, and a mental health advocate. Samuel brings a decade of experience. He brings a decade of experience to this session. Apologies, I haven't. Yeah, so he brings a decade of experience in financial freedom, mental health advocacy, and he's also a financial coach. So now you're getting a 3-in-1 package from Samuel. You're not just going to overcome career regret, you're also going to make the right financial decisions as we move forward. Now, his mission is to empower individuals to help not just themselves, but to also help others. And he's done that in so many ways. And he has helped many individuals become debt-free. And now he's training people in the UK, both when it comes to financial literacy and also when it comes to mental health and well-being. So, Mr. Samuel Leigh, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're super excited to meet you. And on the screen, you would see the QR code. Would also paste the link on the chat box so you can scan it to connect with Samuel after this webinar and to connect with him. So as mentioned earlier, later on, our second speaker, Dr. Maame, will be joining us, but at the moment, we'll kickstart with Mr. Samuel. Thank you, everyone, and would go proceed with our discussion for today. As I mentioned earlier, how do you overcome career regret and how do you avoid pitfalls? So now we have 3 decisions to make after this webinar. Do we want to remain in regret? Do we want to reset? Or do we want to redirect? So I believe after the conversations this evening, would make the right choice. So thank you, everybody, and we'll proceed with the discussion. Thank you, Samuel, once again for joining.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll just proceed with the discussion for this evening. As I read your bio, I saw that you have a lot to your belt, from financial coaching to mental health advocacy. And I like the part where you said you've helped many people in the UK become debt-free. Yes. Now, my first question would be around financial pressure, because most times the mistakes people make when it comes to career choices is because of finances.
Yes.
So how does financial pressure contribute to career regret? And what practical steps can people take to ease that burden?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Blessing, for that. And good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. For me, I think when it comes to financial pressures, and I'm going to try and share as much as possible from my experience. So just a bit of context. I came to the UK in 1993. I was in my early 20s, so I'm going to leave you to guess how old I am. And when I came to the UK, back in those days, it was easier to get credit cards, to get loans, and to get all those things. So as a young man looking to party, I took everything going. I took all the credit cards going. I took all the loans. I traveled around Europe. I bought a car. But what nobody told me was I had to pay that money back. For some reason, I just thought they were giving me money. because that was not something we had access to, or I did not have access to that before I left Nigeria. And so I understand what it's like to be under financial pressure. And sometimes when we have those financial pressures, it stops us from being able to get to where we want to go. And I know for a long time, for many years, I did jobs that really were not my passion. So I've done everything. I used to be a DJ. Then I used to work in a factory packing peanuts. I used to work in a fridge, packing fish, putting them in boxes. I used to be a postman, starting work at 5 o'clock in the morning, picking up letters, carrying bags on my shoulder, delivering letters in the snow, in the rain, in the cold. Um, I've been a football coach, but my main role was within the civil service. And I worked within the civil service Department of Health for 18 years. And my role really was, we used to answer the questions in the House of Parliament. So the Minister for Health, they would have questions for them. We will get those questions in advance, and then we'll find answers to those questions. Then we'll pass it back to the minister, and then he'll go and respond to them in the House. And for a lot of time, a lot of years, I did jobs I did not want to do, or that was not my passion, but because I wanted a stable income. And when you ask, Blessing, you said about financial pressure, how does it contribute to career regret? I think for me, it forces you sometimes when you're under financial pressure to take on jobs that you don't really want to do. You get what I'm saying? Jobs that you're not passionate about, jobs that does not use your strength. Because you've got strength in certain areas. You've got areas that you feel like I can do this with my eyes closed. But because of those financial pressures, you're kind of forced. You get where I'm coming from? You're forced into doing those roles. Sometimes, people compromise their values. So you've got certain values, you've got certain things that you will not do. But because you're under financial pressure, you do those things. And before you know it, you're regretting that chance. And one that was big for me was missing business opportunities, or being able to, because I wanted that steady income. I wanted that role. So for that reason, I did not take on opportunities that needed to be taken. There were chances that came my way and I turned them away because I just did not, I wanted that security. And then finally, it's just stress. I know when I decided to do something about it, I was really stressed out, because back in those days, you used to get the red letters. They used to have red letters that will come through the post. And as soon as you see the envelope, you know that's somebody asking for money. They don't do that anymore. But back in those days, there used to be the red letters coming through. So those are the reasons really that financial pressure comes. When you've got those pressures, you then start making decisions that you shouldn't be making. Does that answer that question?
Yes, so it answers a part of the question. So we understand that financial pressure contributes to career regret. So what are the steps? So we understand that the pressures exist. So what are the steps that we can take to ease that burden? Because like you mentioned, you did a lot because of that financial burden. So what would you advise people to do to ease that burden that comes with financial pressure?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Because again, using my example, using my story, back in 2010, I was finishing my first job about 5 o'clock, and I was running to a second job. And a colleague of mine asked me, Sam, where are you going? I said, I need to rush to work. He's like, you've got a great job here. Why are you doing something else? I said, I've got so much debt. And he said, well, I know some people that do financial education, and maybe they could help you with your finances. And so from that point, I sat down with my mentor. My mentor, he passed away in 2020. God rest his soul. But that man sat down with me and he took me under his wings. And one of the first things I'm going to say to you really is, if you're feeling the pressure of financial restraints, you need a plan. And one of the first things John Flynn did for me was he sat me down and he said, okay, Sam, let's create a budget. What's coming in? What's going out? What are your goals? What do you want 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Some of my goals were I wanted to be debt-free. I wanted to be able to be my own boss. I wanted to be able to send my children to a private school. Those were my goals back in 2010. And I'm thankful to God I was able to achieve all those goals by 2016. But those practical steps you can take: one, create a budget, have a plan, create a budget. Creating that budget and having that financial plan will help you to reduce your debts. But also build an emergency fund. When we talk about an emergency fund in my company, and that's what I do every day, I sit down with clients and I look at their finances and I give them a plan. That's my business now. And one of the first things I say to them about having an emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund, in an account, so that if anything happens, your car breaks down, whatever, something happens, you don't run to a credit card. You run to your emergency fund, you take the money out, and you fill it back up. Okay, so again, build an emergency fund, increase your income stream. You know, a lot of us were relying on one stream of income or 2 streams of income if you're a couple. That's long gone. The days of 2 streams of income within a family no longer viable. Have you got other skills? Do you plait hair? Are you a good cook? Are there businesses around like franchises that you could get involved in? There are all sorts of things that you can do to increase your streams of income. And then developing yourself. You know, I believe the best money you can spend is on personal development. How many books have you read this year? It's a really good question. How many podcasts do you listen to? If you want something in a certain area, or you think you're really strong in that area, you know, somebody said, if you want to be good at something, find an expert and do exactly what they tell you to do. So if you want to be good at an area, which experts are you following? Are you consuming everything they're saying on their podcast or on their Instagram or wherever it is they're on? You know, those kind of things, personally developing yourself, seeking financial advice, and then networking, meeting the right people. You know, you're the sum total of the people around you. So who are the people around you? Who are the people you're mixing with? Maybe you might need to change your circle to be able to get you to where you want to be. But yeah, so that would be the practical steps I will ask you to do or encourage you to do to get you to overcome those financial challenges that you might be facing. Does that help, Blessing?
Right. Yes, it does. Just to add to on the back of what you said. So you did mention that gone are the days where people have just 2 streams of income. So I think because of that, let's say indirect pressure of that people feel that, oh, there's so much I can become, there's so much I can do. It makes people accept the jobs they should not accept. Go into the business they should not go into, then later on regret it because they want to have multiple streams of income. So I just wanted to add, so how do we balance it? We want to have multiple streams of income, but how do we ensure that we do not take that additional income that we end up regretting?
Yeah, so I guess it's finding, yeah, you're right. You need to find balance. Very important. I think for myself, one of the things I did was, yes, I had a full-time job. And then I started my business that I'm doing now on a part-time basis. And, you know, I got buy-in from my family. First of all, I sat down with my family and I told them this is what I'm doing. So my family knew about it. We had a vision board. And so from that vision board, I was able to, you know, I put my vision board on there. My wife did, my children did. That really helped. But it's also finding something that you can be passionate about. Because my extra income helped me personally to be able to achieve my goals. It was easy for me to be passionate about it. That was actually my strength. My job was just something I was doing to pay the bills. My extra income was my passion. And that really helped me to scale up.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Before we go ahead, so we're happy to have our second speaker join us, Dr. Maame Nikabs. We are happy to have you. I'll just quickly just read through her bio. So we just commented. Dr. Maame is a communications expert, career coach, and an author. Maame empowers professionals to find their voice, build confidence, and also navigate difficult conversations. She, just like Mr. Samuel, have navigated different careers. Maame was a former banker, and now she is a coach, and she's also an author. So she draws from her own career pivot to help others move beyond self-doubt and into a fulfilling and a purpose-led work. Good evening, Dr. Maame. We're happy to have you join the webinar this evening.
Thank you.
Allow you settle in for a minute, and I'll ask Samuel another question, and I'll ask you questions as we progress. Still on. I know I'm throwing too many questions because you've answered two questions, and you've talked about different careers, and that's why I'm still asking this question. So you said in your early days you did you worked delivery, you worked in a frozen room, you did XYZ,
Post office, yeah.
Post office, so many things. So what are some early signs of burnout or regret, especially for high achievers? So I think most times people do a lot and they miss that thin line where they should rest because they are overachievers. So what are those early signs? Like you said, you had a goal, you had a plan that you had set. You wanted to have your own business. You wanted to send your children to private school. You had those goals. So most times people set those goals, and because they are overachievers, they end up being burnt out, but they don't notice it on time. So what are those early signs of burnout or regret, especially for high achievers?
I think the first thing would be to persistent tiredness. Tired all the time. Even though you're sleeping the hours you're supposed to sleep, you still find yourself being tired. That's a really big one. Another one would be decreased motivation. Something that you were excited about before, all of a sudden, you just don't really care too much about it. You're not as fired up as you used to be. Neglecting personal needs. So prioritizing your work or your business over your own personal growth. And then that leads on really to not being around the people you're normally with. So withdrawing from your friends, your family, your focus is all about work, 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 work. Those are signs of burnout. But then there's also this part of where people think because it's a bit like anxiety, like symptoms of anxiety. People think because it's mental, it doesn't affect you physically, but it actually does. Okay, burnout, you're looking at having headaches, stomach issues, not sleeping properly. So you're sleeping, but you're waking up every few hours. You're not actually getting a thorough night's sleep. And then, so I think focus. For somebody who's a high achiever, you must be a focused person. But then you find your focus kind of shifting a little bit. That's another reason, really. I mean, there's so many other things. Sometimes maybe even doubting yourself. Doubting, we say, we sometimes we compliment somebody, we say, wow, well done, you've done this very well. And they go like, really? I don't think so. So even sometimes doubting your own achievements and turning back from the things you've done, those are some of the things that would show signs of burnout.
Okay, so what is one advice that you would give to, so just one advice that you would give?
One, self-care. I always say, and I say this to people all the time, self-care is not selfish. A lot of people have actually, I put down my WhatsApp status regularly, and somebody will challenge me. No, people just say that because they want to go and be lazy. No, You need to look after you. Self-care is not selfish. That container, when that container fills up, and I talk a lot about the stress container. If you don't know the stress container, maybe I can explain that some other time. But when that container fills up, it overflows. You need to empty that container regularly and look after you. You've got to put your mask on first. Like you get on a plane, they say put your mask on before you put your child's mask on. So, blessing, the one thing, self-care. Look after you. Because if you're not well and you're not good, you can't look after anybody else. And you're more important to the world than the
Thank you.
business or the job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Self-care is not selfish. Look after you. If you look after yourself, that's when you can achieve those career goals that you set. And that's when you're able to correct those regrets when you make them. So over to you, Dr. Maame. As in your bio, it states that you transition. So now my question, you transitioned from a stable career in banking. Everybody knows that banking is one of the secure jobs. And when growing up, we used to hear our parents say, "Oh, what do you want to become in future?" You hear them say, "You want to become a banker, an engineer, a lawyer," because they felt there was this sense of security when you are in those fields. But in your case, you transitioned from a stable career in banking to coaching. So now my question is, were there any regrets? I won't say were there any regrets or fear that came during that transition, and how did you walk through them?
Thank you. Regrets, none. Fear, yes. Because for every journey that you take, you are not 100% sure how it will turn out. And I think what has really been useful is that, and what I was on a careers panel yesterday, and I was saying one advice I'll give to my younger self is to pursue my passion, my interest, not the money. So I went for the money in the beginning, and I didn't enjoy the job. So it was a stressful 10 years of my life, not looking forward to going back to work because that was just not me. So I had to do that introspection and say, what do I really enjoy? Because my undergrad was in linguistics. And then when I got to the bank, I did an MBA in finance. And I got on quite well, but I just felt, and anyone listening to me feeling that there is more or this is not it, it's a sign that you need to pivot. But it begins with you asking yourself those critical questions. And I noticed as well that even when I was on the at the bank, when people come in and we had to train them, I enjoyed that rather than going out to look for customers or get people to pay their monies back. So all those were signs. I tried to get into the learning and development, but I wasn't successful with that. So that nudged me. So I decided that, okay, if I'm passionate about teaching, I would come and do an MA and a PhD. So my plan was to go back to Ghana and teach. But then because of the first mistake, regret I had in the banking career, I was, as a person of faith, right in my face, I kept asking God, order my steps and reveal me to me. Show me my purpose on this earth. And that's what led me. So I did some part-time lecturing afterwards. But now I'm fully into my work, both as a coach and as a consultant. So no regrets, none at all. But fears, yes, I had them, but I kept reminding myself, like Paul will say, my competence is not of myself. And I would say daily that I can do all things through Christ. As a person of faith, that's why I got my strength for to be able to overcome the fears that being an entrepreneur is. A woman, a Black woman operating a business in the UK, that's challenging enough. And so I had to work on me and be confident in what I'm doing and face it heads on.
Great, great, very insightful. Yes, you can do all things through Christ. One thing I noticed, not just from your end, to other speakers when they talk about chasing your passion over money, most times I ask myself, how realistic is that when we say passion over money? I feel that there's a time in your career journey where, like you said, you did spend 10 years in banking, even though you were not passionate about banking, I'm very sure you learned a lot in those 10 years. And what you learned in those 10 years is what you also, part of what you also use in your coaching and in lecturing along the line. So even if there were regrets, there were also learning points as a banker.
Absolutely.
But most times when we advise people to chase passion over money, my question is, how do they chase passion when they have no money?
Yes.
How do
So
they feed? How do they live?
yes. So, and that's where you have to be very realistic in this sense. Yes, chase your and I always say that, look, if you choose the passion part, what it means is that in the short term, you would suffer a little bit. You would against somebody who goes after the money or comfort, the comfort zone, and gets a secured job. But if you choose your passion, so the way some others have done it. So when I started my business, I got a fellowship. And because that was just research, I could still run my business. The fellowship was almost 2 years, and I was getting a good chunk of money whilst I was doing the business. When that ended, then I took up part-time lecturing to support myself. You see, so passion over money, yes, it's possible, it's real, but you have to look at your own situation. And for someone like me, a married woman, I also have my husband's support. So I get money from there. So I don't have to worry about my rent, what I will eat. You see, so you have to look at your own situation. But the danger most people encounter, and in my experience with coaching people, is that they say, okay, now I need the money. And then they get into the money phase and they resign themselves. I think this is what I'm going to do all my life. And that's where the regret comes from. So you can start with the money if your situation is such that you don't have any other means to fall on, and if you are in the money, you are in it for money or for survival, you can have an exit plan. I wouldn't say just leave. When I coach people, I don't say no, leave immediately. Try something on the side, build it to a level that when you leave, it can sustain you. That's more realistic. And if you listen to Steve Jobs, he talks about passion so much because it's so key in whatever, even your job. If you're not passionate about it, most of us, if we ask ourselves, we go to the work because we have to. There's no passion that we're not contributing, we're not making any meaningful impact. But vis-a-vis someone who is passionate about that job, you see the difference. So it's about asking yourself, how do you want to live? How long can you live on? Can you go living like that, doing something you don't enjoy just for the sake of the money?
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I really do appreciate that too. Passion over money, but you need to balance it. You do not chase your passion without any money in your account. So Samuel, as a mental health professional and advocate, how can someone care for their mental health while they navigate major career decisions?
Just before I just go into that, I just think Dr. Maame, what she just said is so vital, as in that goes back to having a plan. You can't just ditch your job and say, I'm following my passion. You have to have a plan. You've got to say, okay, this is my job. It's paying my bills. This is my passion. And then you work it gradually. I mean, what I did was I worked my job. I did my business for about 5 years. And then I asked them at work if I could go down to part-time. So at my job, I went down to 3 days. And so for the 4 days, I was focused on my business. And then 6 months later, I was able to say, you know what, thank you so much. I really appreciate 18 years of working here. Bye. And I was able to leave. But yes, very, very important. You've got to feed your family. So, so great response, Dr. Maame. Great response. How do you look after your mental health? I mean, there's so many areas to talk about when it comes to this. Like I said, the first thing is you've got to prioritize yourself. You are important. You're more important than any of the jobs that they give you. So prioritize, but also be self-aware. Do you know much about mental health? So one of the things I do, I go into companies and I train their staff to recognize different signs and symptoms of mental health issues. So depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, all those things. Do you recognize it? Do you know what they are? And are you able to help yourself, but also help other people around you? Because mental health is real. I think if you're all young people on the call, then that's great. You all understand that. I've been doing this so long. There was a time I'll talk to people and they'll say mental health is not real. It's an evil spirit chasing you. And I'm like, no, it's not. Mental health is a real thing, and you've got to prioritize that. So what techniques can help you? There's so many things you can do. Mindfulness. Does anybody do mindfulness in the group? Mindfulness, if you do, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, I'll encourage you to go on YouTube today and just type in mindfulness for beginners and just do 5 minutes of your body scan. Do something called a body scan. And again, you just listen and you switch off. Forget everything that is going on around you. So when you're thinking about your mental health and you're looking at chasing this career, you need to look after you. Acknowledge your feelings. Are you feeling somehow? Acknowledge those feelings and talk to somebody. But also recognize your triggers. What are some things that sets you off? And next to that is, do you have people around you that recognizes those triggers and are able to say, you know what, Blessing, let's go for a walk. I can see that. So for me, I might start watching a box set, for hours. Or for some people, it may be, eating all the old bowl of ice cream in the fridge or whatever it may be. And there's people around you that you can say, my wife is absolutely brilliant with that. And, or I've got friends, I'll say, Sam, we can tell there's some, can we have a chat? But also you need to be willing to have a chat with people. You've got to be willing to acknowledge those feelings and be able to get the help, because there is help out there. We just don't go for it. Sometimes ego, sometimes the stigma, we believe, I speak Yoruba, and the negative, when I can't think of a mental health word or the word mental health that is possible in Yoruba. It's weary, which means mad. And mad is not positive. So sometimes we don't talk about the challenges we're facing because people are going to call us names. People are going to say we're this and we're that. So because of that stigma, we don't talk. Let me encourage you, talk. Talk to somebody. Find somebody who understands and have a chat with them. I'll just stop there just because there's 2 of us on the call. Does that help, Blessing? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Excellently well. It does, yes.
And
Talk
just
to somebody.
one more thing, work-life balance. People say work-life balance. I don't say that. I say life-work balance. Your life comes first before your work. So not work-life balance, is life-work balance. You need to look after you. But very, very important that you have a balance there. So yeah, sorry, let it go.
Okay, yeah. So just because of what you just said, life-work balance, work-life balance. So my question is there actually a work-life or a life-work balance? I feel that most times when we use that word, we just throw the word, because I think one has to give in to the other. I feel it's impossible to balance life and work. I feel you might give life 60%, you might give work 40%. But I just feel that word balance might be us just like a cliche statement. So is it actually true to balance work and life, or life and work?
I think for me, it's about finding time for you and finding time for your family. If you've got a family, a lot of us work so hard, and then when our children get to a certain age, you don't even know them anymore. You don't know each other. Do you have time for the ones you love? Because I could easily work. I'm a workaholic. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I am. And if you give me the opportunity, I would work 24 hours a day. But I understand I've got children, I've got a wife, I give time. We go to the cinema. I've just come back from football. I train a local football team, and I just did that today. I came back about maybe half an hour before I logged on. So you've got to give time for those things. If you don't, you will burn out and your family will struggle. So a lot of us as men, I think men especially, we say we're providing. Your children would appreciate the presence and the love and the time more than the money you bring, because that money will not sustain that relationship. So yes, Blessing, I think you've got to be intentional. My word for last year was intentional. There's a song, intentional. You've got to be intentional about that life-work balance, because if you're not, it won't work out for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very insightful. Life-work balance, work-life balance is possible. Dr. Maame, as a coach, I know that you receive clients that come to you with different career challenges, those who feel stuck in their high-paying roles that no longer align with their values. So how do you help them move forward? What advice do you give to them?
Well, I'll say the advice, I don't think there's a one size fits all advice, but permit me just to add one point to what Samuel was talking about. So, like you, I rather choose to say I prioritize. So, for example, if it's the summertime, I don't do work during that time. It's because the children are home and they have me 100%. Because I live between Ghana and London, when I'm in Ghana, sometimes I don't even do any work at all because I have to be present. So that's where the intention comes in. You have to prioritize. There are times that work will demand more of your attention. If I have a project that I need to work on, that will take more of my attention. But when I finish with that project, then the priority becomes the kids and the family. So that's how I have navigated that all these years. But I think back to your question, there isn't a one size fits all. So because you find somebody who is in a mid-career role, or your clients come and they're in very senior roles and they've done that job for all, and for them, they're asking themselves, what's next? So after all this that I've achieved, what have I done? So it's to help them see this is where you are. So if your question is what's next, what's really driving you to ask that question? Because I believe that you have to make a contribution in this life. And for those who are asking that question, is because they haven't contributed. They have focused on their jobs, they've built wonderful careers, they've made money, but they realize that there is more. Somebody is also stuck. They want to change, but the fear and the uncertainty of the future holds them bound and they don't know. So what I do is to help the client understand where you are and what's triggering why you are feeling that uncertainty, or why you are feeling that there is more, for us to get to the root of the problem. And then together, if you're able to map out that, in fact, I think I have lived, but I haven't contributed enough, then you will find out from them, how does contribution look like for you? If you want to contribute, what would that be? Because it has to be, how I would want to contribute will be different from what you, Blessing, or Samuel would do. You see, so it's working with the client. And it's just as a coach, mine is to ask them the critical and pivotal questions that would help them unlock what it is that they want to, because they've come to me, they are at point A, but they want to get to point B. So I think it's not just a straightforward answer. It depends on who is coming for the help, where they are, and what their specific goals are. Sometimes they even come to you thinking that I'm stuck. When you dive in and you do the work, you realize that no, it's not that you are stuck, but you feel that there is more. I haven't contributed enough. And I normally let them do the wheel of life exercise. And for some of them, they realize I've spent all my time working and I'm very low on family and friendships. So that's
Anything to add, Samuel?
Pardon?
No, I love the wheel of life. I love looking at that, because you do need to have a balance. There's this thing about shalom, and shalom is having a wholesome where everything is coming together as one. So I do love that, being able to look at your finances, your health, your relationship, your everything is got to be a balance. So yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Maame. So my next question, yes, I'll throw this to both of you. So you both have transitioned from one career to another, from an employee to now an employer. What's one piece of advice you wish you had known before making that career change?
I think piece of advice I wish I had known was to know that my education and qualification was not enough. I thought that I have this PhD in linguistics. I've done John Maxwell certification. I've done mental fitness coaching. So I'm great to go. But then I realized, look, there's a language that decision bias speak. You've got to speak to the pain points of your clients. So clients, whether B2C or B2B, they are interested in outcomes. And I noticed that knowing your stuff is not enough. So I had to work on my communication and presentation skills. I had to pay a coach. You know, I've worked with a coach. I still have a coach who helps me, because without that, I might think, oh, these my goals are good. And my coach is like, no, you've done this, you can do more. So that will be that, look, despite my education and all the other things I've done, that is not enough, particularly in the work that I do, where I speak and I train. You've got to show up fully and present, because people would always remember how you make them feel and not what you said. So I had to invest in that, you know, the working. And I love Jim Rohn's quote, who says you have to work more on yourself than on your job. And I think previously, all I did was to work on my job, i.e. my education, but my personal development, as in communication, reading, I wasn't doing too much of that. So briefly, that's what I'll say.
Very, 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 very insightful. Yes. You have to work more on yourself than on your job. So Samuel, what was that advice you wish you had known before your career transition?
I think for me, I was really fortunate that I had, you know, like Dr. Maame said, I had a great coach. And I had a great coach that I worked with for up to 5 years, 6 years before he passed. Actually, before I went into my full-time job. And we kind of ticked a lot of the different boxes. And I think if I had to change one thing, or if I think one of the things would be maybe worked harder in my career. So in my job, I was doing 40, maybe 37 to 40 hours a week. When I transitioned to run my own business, I don't think I put that much time into it. I took more time off than I probably should have done. And I think if there was anything I wish it would be that I put more into it than I now realize. So this is what I'm saying to new people that I'm coaching now. Know that the work required is going to be a lot more, because for many years, we've all got the mentality of work, somebody will pay you a salary. But when you start your own business, you're creating your own income. You need to put the work in.
Yeah. That leads to my next question. So there's would I say myth around the stories of people that transition from paid employment to business owners. There's this flowery picture that is painted that, oh, when I became a business owner, I control my time, XYZ. We see the stories on LinkedIn. And most times the underneath truth, the work that goes in achieving that. So that phase of moving from paid employment to becoming a successful business owner, there's a space in between the struggles. Like you said, you create your own wealth. When you work for somebody, if there's 0 sales, if there's 1 sales, you receive your salary. When you become a business owner, if you have just one client, if one client is paying you $2,000, you're going to pay yourself from that $2,000. If you get 5 clients, you earn more. But most times we do not see that story out a lot. So people leave their thriving 9 to 5 and jump into business. And after a month or year, you hear them complain because of that flowery picture that is painted about entrepreneurship. And so I'd like you guys to throw more light on that.
Let me see. I think so. You're asking about a myth.
Yes,
about
switching
starting
careers.
your
Yes.
own. Okay.
Yes.
I think one of the myths that I see a lot of people doing, and I'm actually talking to somebody I'm working with now, is that they want everything to line up before they actually make that move. It doesn't have to. It doesn't always have to line up. I think for me, it's about having a plan. Once you have a plan and you've got money saved up, like one of the things I did was I had a year's income saved up. So I knew if I didn't generate any income for a year, I'll still be able to pay all my bills. Unfortunately for me, my wife as well, was working. So there was that backup. So it's again being able to, you mentioned pivot, Dr. Maame, and it's recognizing that I had something on my screen at work for almost a year before I left my job. And the screensaver said, jump and the net will appear. That was my screensaver for almost a year, maybe even longer than a year at my job. Jump and the net will appear. And I just add that on every single day. So a myth would be get all your ducks in a row, then leave. You don't have to, in my opinion. As long as you've got money saved up and you know it's good and you've taken your planning, you've timed it, for me, that's a myth. That doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, Dr. Maame.
Yes, I want to say that, Blessing, you're right. Entrepreneurship is hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody should deceive you otherwise. Yes, you have the freedom to control your time, but when you start off, you realize if you're not careful, I mean, if you're a one person, that freedom doesn't exist. You might probably have the ability to decide that, okay, I want to take my children to school. My husband is also an entrepreneur, and for him, one of the reasons why he took that decision was that he doesn't want, not that he can't afford a driver, but he wants to drive his children to school and be able to pick them up, because that's a way to bond with them. So what that means is that there are some Saturdays that you have to put in extra hours to make up for the lost out. But the beauty is that you can always make up the time. If I have a school, my eldest is in secondary school now, and if I have to go away for a school discussion or something, it means that I've missed a job. I'll make it up on a Friday or a Saturday. But if I was working for someone and I'm not able to go to work, or I take a day off, that's fine. You see, so this is hard work, but the benefits in the long term, I think, outweigh the hard work. But we need to be realistic and tell the story completely as it is, and not over glorify entrepreneurship as if that's the only way. I don't think you can be entrepreneurial in your job. We are all meant to create something. So you can have a full-time job and create something. But that would be but if there's anyone who is considering it, thinking about it, like someone said, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
If you jump, the net will appear.
Thank you both. A bit behind time, so we'll just take 2 more questions, and I will give room for Q&A if there's any. One thing I think we notice in the society is that people do not talk a lot about career regret. And so people make those wrong decisions and they just keep it to themselves and they move on. So now my question to both of you is, what are some overlooked career pitfalls people should watch out for?
I think one of the reasons why we don't talk about these things is that sometimes we see vulnerability as a weakness, but I see it as a strength, not a weakness. You see, so because when I think the person that really helped me in my being able to move was my husband, because I always came back and I was complaining, I don't enjoy this work. I don't think I can continue doing this forever. So there was a point he said, look, you've got to take a decision because you're always coming back complaining. And some of us as well, I don't know if anyone has read The Alchemist, but he makes a very brilliant point that many of us resign ourselves. We have a passion, we have a goal we want to pursue, but we might start off doing something for a while. And then after a while, we resign ourselves. I think this is my fate. I just have to accept it. And we continue we don't have to live like that. We might begin off on the wrong footing, but that doesn't mean we should remain there. If you notice this feeling of, I want more, I'm not fulfilled, this is really not me, I think there's so much more that I can offer, it's a sign that you need to take that step. So a good person to reach out to is maybe a coach, a career coach, or even your boss or a colleague, somebody who you have seen being on that journey. Because if you talk to the wrong person, trust you me, you would have been better off not talking at all. So even this conversation that is made available, I think it's a brilliant space for someone who is in that spot. So I would say, look, yes, you might be in a career and you've had those regrets. There's nothing wrong with that. All of us have had it. If you haven't had it now, you might have it at a point, but that doesn't stop you. It shouldn't be your story. Don't define yourself via that. You can reinvent yourself, but you've got to put in the work and be strategic of, okay, if this doesn't serve me, what do I want my life to look like? What's the job? So is that you need the clarity, because I want more, but I'm not sure of where I want to go. What's the point in wanting more?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I say to people is failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is what happens to you on the way to success. Because if you don't fail, you will not be successful. So you fail, you find a different way of doing it, and then you fail, and then you find a different way of doing it. So when you're having some career challenges and you're struggling, it's good to talk. It's always good to talk. So I will encourage you, share. And like I said earlier, you know, personal development, part of that is find an expert and do exactly what they tell you to do. If you and all those experts, I can guarantee you, they failed at one point or another in their career. So we don't talk about it because, again, we think people are going to look down on us. We think that's why you need to change your circle or change your circle. It's one or the other. Change your circle or change your circle, but you need to be around the right people that might know what you're going through, that will be able to help you. So that's why we need to talk about career challenges or career regrets. I hate the word regret, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
It's a strong word, but I don't like using it. But I hear what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yes. Okay. I think we can see from the 55 minutes we spend on this webinar has been very insightful. I think we can end with this question, because from yourself and Dr. Maame, you guys have ended with an amazing take home. Dr. Maame said you may have started your career on a wrong footing, but you do not have to remain there. And like, yes, so we don't want to use the regret. So learnings. So you may have, yes, so whatever has happened in your career journey, they were all learnings. You don't have to dwell on them. You have to move forward. And now we've heard this one from Samuel that says, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is what happens on your way to success. So we want to succeed. We've made mistakes. There are errors on the way. We look at the learnings and we move forward. And thank you very much, Dr. Maame, and thank you, Samuel. Thank you everyone for joining the call. We really do appreciate it.